Hi, I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the blockage of overthinking. Overthinking is one of the many blockages to learning fluency that adult learners face. It's a very common blockage, and it's understandable because the challenge that adult learners of musical fluency face is entering the mindset of a child. A lot of people say with some justification that musical fluency is only possible for children to achieve. It's only possible to achieve kind of pre-5. I don't subscribe to that. I think as long as we get into the mindset of a pre-5 learner, a 4-year-old mindset, then we can do it. But that's a challenge, and a lot of, pretty much all of my teaching really involves coaching people into that mindset, because the actual model that I teach of how music works is very simple, and it requires absolutely no cognitive effort at all. No cognitive effort. Really, I mean that. No cognitive effort. What do I mean by cognitive effort? I mean it requires no calculating, no measuring, no thinking about things. As I'm playing fluently, if I improvise something for you now. I'm just telling you something in exactly the same way that I'm telling you something now. All I need is a vocabulary and a syntax, or a model of how it works. So the vocabulary of language is obviously words, so we know words, and we group those words together. That's the syntax. So words in groups, that's the model for language that we all generally use. Very few of us are thinking about anything else as we speak. In fact, it would probably get in the way and cause us to be less fluent if we did. So it's the same with musical fluency. You just need a very simple model. Can't be quite as simple as language. We've got two aspects to music. You've got rhythm and tonality. So you've got tonal blocks. This is a G minor tonal block. Tonal blocks plugged into the keyboard map. So the keyboard map is the structure, and all the blocks, there are 12 major and 12 minor harmonic blocks and some other blocks, and they're all nested. They all plug into the keyboard map. You have to know how the blocks are configured and how they all plug into the structure of the keyboard map. So blocks in the keyboard map, and we also have rhythm cells, just 12 rhythm cells plugged into the groove, the structure of the groove, or the rhythmic matrix as I call it. So that side of things is actually pretty basic learning. You just simply have to know it, you practice it, you focus on it. It doesn't require cognitive effort. Even at the beginning, it doesn't require cognitive effort, which is not to say that it doesn't require any mental effort during the process of learning, because it does, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. So let's have a think about this whole business of the child mind and why it's so difficult and what we need to do to get into that state of mind. Well, all you can do with adult learners is if you like, appease the adult mind. You have to provide detailed information, and that's why I sell my materials online, and I obviously provide my students that come to me for one-to-one lessons with a model, fully explained, as concisely as I can, but a fully explained version of the model with diagrams and all this sort of thing to appease the adult mind, and even children to some degree benefit tremendously, obviously, from sort of detailed information. So you get that kind of out the way, get that into the mind, and then it's all about letting go, so that you once you know what you need to know, you then don't really require thinking about it anymore, because you know it fluently, you know it fully or deeply. It's deeply internalized. The other thing that you need to do to enter the child mind, as I say, is you have to work on blockages. Today I'm talking to you about the blockage of overthinking, which is a pretty major one. That becomes the main body of the work that I do with students one-to-one, is coaching them out of their blockages, coaching them to let go, to actually let go and learn with this mindset of a child. So think about any skill that you learn, probably as a child, like talking, walking, swimming, riding a bike. These kind of basic practical skills, they require quite a lot of effort at first. Not cognitive effort, not thinking particularly, but focus. Keeping your balance on a bike when you're first learning requires a lot of focus. You're getting that feedback from the bike, your center of gravity. You have to focus. You fall off a lot. You get back on, you focus. Children are good at focusing. They're good at not striving for the results at the expense of their peace of mind, if you like. So they're good at playing. This is the mindset of a child. Now, that's the skill of focus. The skill of focus is necessary for being fluent musically as well. What do you think the effect on focus is of overthinking? If we think a lot, what happens to our focus, our simple focus, my ability to simply know moment by moment where my fingers are walking in the keyboard map, my simple ability to have the structure, the non-linear, simple structure of the groove of the rhythmic matrix, my ability to know where I am within that at every moment requires focus. What will happen if I start thinking about these sorts of things is that I lose focus. I become in a state of planning or reflecting. I'm either, looking ahead into the future, or I'm looking back into the past and judging what I've done. I'm not in the moment simply doing it, simply saying the next word, simply playing the next rhythm cell, the next block in the keyboard map and the rhythmic matrix. So this is obviously the skill of focus, and it does take practice, just as learning to talk required a lot of practice that we did in the right zone, practice that would be still necessary in the right zone as an adult, as anybody who learns languages well will tell you. You simply have to immerse yourself. And so it is with the music. You immerse yourself in the language of music, in the rhythm cells in the matrix, blocks in the keyboard map, and you express yourself like a child with moment by moment clear focus and no thinking. No thinking at all, no planning, no reflecting and judging, no working out, none. Just focusing and making an effort to have great focus moment by moment. So why do we overthink as adults? Well, it's because we're good at thinking. We develop the skill of thinking, and so any challenging situation that arises, what are we going to do? We're going to do the thing that we've learned to do. We learn to do it at school. It's encouraged to think. We think. That's what we do. So when thinking doesn't work, when thinking isn't the solution, it's difficult. And that's why overthinking is a blockage. We overthink because that's how we overcome our insecurity. So we overthink because of insecurity. And insecurity around playing music is pretty normal. People don't have a sense of freedom, a sense of trust in their inner musician. That's a different blockage. So, but it's really, you can see it's related. Not trusting your inner musician, not trusting that you have all the abilities you need to play music really, really well. I'll show you what I mean by that. If I'm just playing some simple repeated chords, simple as can be, very easy to play. If I focus, if I use my basic focus that I'm talking about and know the structure within the keyboard map and within particularly the rhythmic matrix, then even if I'm not even playing particularly complex rhythm cells or anything, it sounds good if I have that clarity and I let go and express. I can go. And it feels flowing, but obviously that feeling of flow and expression requires that I feel secure. It requires that I let go. If we reach for our thinking, if we look for some kind of engineering solution to playing music, maybe technical, how do I move my fingers and my what's the right movement in the wrist, where should my arms be? If we start over engineering technique, if we start thinking about theory and we start thinking, oh, I'm playing a D major chord in the second inversion, and start thinking about all this complex stuff, it blocks our fluency. Some people might have the ability to then still play well because they have this tremendous sense of drive musically. I mean, this is in a sense what we often mean by talent, and it's a bit of an unfair assessment of talent. That some people have this tremendous sort of force of musicality that pushes through even if they do overthink. Most of us don't have that kind of, what would you call it, kind of bravado or drive, as I'm calling it, this ability to push through. If we overthink, it literally stops our musicality from coming out. And what do we do then? We feel more insecure, so we think even more, and it's a snowball effect. And it gets worse and worse. So simplifying what the mind's doing, bringing it to the present moment and just focusing on the next rhythm cell, the next block, and knowing where they are in the groove, the structure of the groove, the rhythmic matrix, and in the keyboard map is what we need to do, and it requires no thinking. So then I suppose the big question is, how do we overcome that fear? Well, there you go. It's like any field of learning, there's a psychological basis to why people learn effectively and why they don't. It's not all about things like talent and IQ, and there are psychological blockages. That's what I'm saying here, and I'm saying that overthinking is a very powerful psychological blockage to musical fluency, and it's obviously it's not something that is only experienced by stupid people, is it? Overthinking. So it's a very common problem, and it requires often one-to-one coaching. And I'll be honest, it can be so strong in us to use analysis, to use cognitive effort to solve things. It can be such a habit that we can't stop doing it without some help. But obviously we can try. If we look at it honestly ourselves, look inside ourselves and say, am I just thinking about this? Am I just trying to work out how to solve a problem which I already know the answer to, as long as I have clear focus on the model? And that's it. That's all I wanted to say, really, because what more can I say apart from try not to overthink. Try to have a really clear sense of what you're doing moment by moment using the model of Play Piano Fluently that I offer. And then what happens is you discover a kind of freedom and a kind of ease when the mind simply focuses and doesn't overthink at all.